know I'm a little late to the game on this, but here is my September 11th video.
People need to be awake and they need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up.
So there was a meeting on Wednesday night. It was actually the regular time slot for one of the Republican clubs that I'm in. And I didn't go. I was in a funk. I just didn't feel like it. And so somebody the next day actually emailed me. Someone had live streamed it. Actually, Chris Wright, who I've interviewed a few times, he live streamed it. So I ended up watching the live stream the next day. And so I think it's really important to not forget. I mean, the video was very powerful. They put together a video and they had some speakers. I would say the video they put together was particularly powerful. They got angles that often you don't find. Like, I tried to find basically the same videos on YouTube to use those as a screenshot to get a more powerful thumbnail, and this thumbnail was really the best I could do without a whole... I mean, I spent a little time searching, but, alright. So, yeah, and actually you can see I found this was a video where it was flying in, so I used a screenshot when the second plane was about to hit. But I had wanted, they have in a video where the second plane flies in and you see it like turn at the last minute, go vertical or like diagonal and just go in. And that was the shot I had wanted for my thumbnail, and I couldn't find it. But that was in the video that they showed. And no, I didn't use it from the live stream because it was like a video projection on a wall. So, I wanted... Anyway, so let's hop over here. Alright, so that is... This is... I'll link this in the description, the live stream. And then... There we go. And then he also did, the next day he did this video where he told about how he went to the tribute. And that's like a 9-minute video. And then also, surprisingly, you expect people like this to be... this was a pleasant surprise on my Twitter feed. I mean, I know it shouldn't be, but I look at people who are elites as automatically leftists. And also Scottie Pippen here, that's who this is, Scottie Pippen. I was a fan of his in the 90s. He follows both of Barack Obama's Twitter accounts, although that's the only politician he follows. He only follows 60 people, so it wasn't particularly a lot of work to see who he follows. But he follows both of the accounts, both the actual Obama account and the POTUS 44 archive account. I assume he followed that before it was an archive, but anyway. And in case you didn't know, that's a sidetrack. What they do is, when President Trump took over, they changed it out, they archive, and this happens anytime, like, when Sarah Sanders took over. Although in my case, I'm now following Stephanie Grisham. It was automatic. So I don't know, he probably had to unfollow Donald Trump, or maybe in that case they didn't. Maybe they left the press secretary account, but anyway. So they archived the account and they start a new one. So, eventually when Trump leaves office, I know some of you don't want to think about that. Hopefully it's not a leftist that replaces him. But anyway, someday he will leave office. And so his account will be archived from, to probably say POTUS 45 archived. And then you will go ahead and the new person will be POTUS. Again, hopefully not a leftist. Alright, getting back to the thumbnail, getting back to the topic at hand, enough of this side stuff. So, I'm sure everybody always wants to hear people's stories where you were Now, people know that I live in New York City. You may or may not know, I did not live in New York City at that time. I moved here, I don't actually want to say what year I moved here, but let's say between 2003 and 2007. I'll admit that it was somewhere in that range. I don't want to get too specific for various reasons. But anyway, I moved here later on. And so on 9/11, I lived in San Antonio, Texas. I was working through a temp agency at a company called USAA. I was doing like IT support. It sounds really glamorous. It sounds like I was like a techie, but I was mostly resetting passwords. Although I did get some of the tougher calls and I went ahead and took them, whereas other people would just send them off to a supervisor or the actual, there was an actual IT department, and in fact they actually talked about, before 9/11, they were actually talking about moving me over to the regular IT department because I was so good and I was willing and capable of tackling all these IT calls. Anyway, so that's what I was doing. Oh, I should have pulled this up. Hang on. See, one thing is that you may not know is that USAA is a really large company. I'm trying to find it. Here. Actually, yeah, I can just, hang on. Alright, I'm gonna come back. So, there were a lot of comments made. Oh, can you see USAA from the sky? It's the only building besides the Pentagon you can see from the sky. I doubt that's true. They were saying you could see it from space. People got very nervous. So it's basically like 5 attached buildings and then a few unattached buildings. It's a long, you can kind of see this from the pictures here. It's like a long S. And I should have prepared this. There's I have a diorama that they had on campus. We weren't supposed to take pictures of it, but I did. But it's like a really large, they refer to it as a campus, not a small company. And alright, back to the topic at hand. So as a temp, I was supposed to park in the outside parking lots, but the car that I bought happened to have a USAA sticker on it for parking, and there were all kinds of stickers of different colors, and there were stickers with that same color in their parking ramps. So I was like, I'll just park in the ramp, because unless I misparked, no one's gonna pull up to see if I actually was legit. So I used to park in the ramp even though I wasn't really supposed to because I was a temp. And so I was parking in the ramps and I was running late. And this place, inside, it looked like a giant mall or a museum. I actually have pictures. The thing is, they're pictures of myself inside there. I guess I could black out my face. But anyway, I should do a video about them. It might be interesting. I don't know. If you want me to do a video about them, comment below and let me know. And if you don't, comment below and let me know. I need more comments. I need more comments. More comments. More comments. Anyway, somber video. So back to the topic at hand. So I was parking in this place underground, and as I was literally pulling my car into the spot, I had this terrible knot in my stomach that just hit me like crazy. And my mind was just something really bad just happened. And I was just this is crazy. Now as a child, as I've grown older, as a child I had tons of psychic premonitions. And as I grew older, they went away. So this might be, I think I've had a few since then, but I mean, when I was in my 20s, I actually ended up not getting a speeding ticket because I had a premonition that there was a cop up ahead one time. And so I slowed down. I was like flying. I was doing like, I don't know, 70 and a 40. And I was like, there's a cop ahead. Boom! I slowed down. And then I ended up getting pulled over. So I thought that like I didn't slow down fast enough. But it turned out they were looking for somebody who had burglarized. I was on like a huge country back road. I know, I live in New York City now. But I did it one time. Actually, the very first college I went to was in a very, very rural area. And, so I was on my way to college when I was like, I don't know, I was probably like 18, 19 years old, driving there. And probably 19. I didn't have a car when I was 18. I started when I didn't have a car until later on, and I turned 19 like, well, my birthday's in October, so October my freshman year. Anyway, that psychic premonition, I didn't get a ticket, but it turned out they were looking for somebody who had burglarized a house, and because it was such a barren country road that people don't normally use, they were pulling everyone over. But I had just been speeding, so my psychic premonition saved me. Anyway, 9/11 that morning, back to the topic at hand. So I had this awful, and I was just like, well, I don't know, I'll find out later. That's what I like kept telling myself. So I parked, I went in, running. I remember I was like really, really late, running like crazy, running up the escalator, because I was supposed to start at 8, but that was Central Time, so that was like 10 minutes to 9. Whatever it was the time when I had the psychic premonition would have been basically the exact same time as the first tower would have been hit. So then and if you don't know about USAA, their whole shtick, I believe they've loosened the ground rules from this, but when I worked there in 2001, they were only for veterans, their families. There was a rule that employees could also get their products. They were highly sought after. People wanted to work there just to be able to get their insurance and all their different products. And once you worked there, like, you could get it for your family, stepkids, etc., etc. So people really wanted to work there. Like, everybody in San Antonio wanted to work there. I wasn't a legit employee, so I couldn't get their products. And I think I could have because I was prior service, but anyway, I didn't have their products. I didn't work there that awful long. But anyway, so I was pulling in, had this awful premonition, went up the escalator, and so I was taking calls, and the neighboring customer service area that was separated by glass, they had a TV, and this guy tells me, like, points to there, and he's like, they bombed the World Trade Center. Which, of course, we know that's not exactly what happened, but that's what he said to me. And I was just like, yeah, what? It was a guy that, like, liked me and was always finding excuses to talk to me. And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, they always do that. Because they had tried to bomb the World Trade Center in 93. Anyway, so he told me that, and I was kind of like, whatever, okay, I was definitely not political at this point, not at all, and I was not somebody who watched the news, and rarely, very, very rarely did I watch the news back then. So then I was on calls with customers later on, and also the phones were really slow. The phone slowed down to a crawl because people were probably glued to the TV. But I had some customers that were contacting to, get services from us, and some of them one of them was telling me, like, oh, I'm watching TV, did you know that they flew planes into the World Trade Center? And I was like, oh, wow. Literally, I get off that call, and I turn around, I'm about to tell the supervisor so that they can look into it and possibly tell everyone. And then right then they announced it. And so then they said, okay, everyone, we're going to let you go. We're going to let like 3-4 people at a time go in like 15-minute increments to the break room so you can watch the news and see what's going on, especially since the phones were slow. My break was coming up right then anyway, so we went to the break room and watched the news. In retrospect, I do believe that what was on the news there was, I'm pretty sure it was CNN. I mean, it wasn't on my radar at the time to know what channel it was, but I can pretty much bet you it was CNN that was on in the break room. And I remember like it was always on. So every time you took a break, and in retrospect, knowing all the stuff that I know now about like how CNN is always on in the airplanes, and we kind of figure that they are government propaganda by the CIA. Anyway, all of that, like, it's interesting to look back and see all of that, but, you know, they say, you know, you have people that say Bush did 911 or the Jews did 911. I don't know. I'm not convinced of the official story, but I don't think, like, it was completely Bush. Maybe Bush was in bed with the jihadis who did it. I mean, after all, you figure his family owns all those oil companies, and they do talk about how he was very close with, I think it was like a Saudi prince who was their ambassador to us. I could be wrong about this. Anybody who knows I'm wrong about anything, please feel free to call me out in the comments. I mean, sometimes people say, oh, you should look all this stuff up ahead of time. I was like, I already do enough research before all my videos, and I don't script my videos, so, and for 50 people to watch a video, I'm really not going to get that involved. You know, when I don't make videos, people are like, where are you? Weigh in on this, weigh in on that. So I do make some videos here and there, but on the other hand, this isn't really a research video. It's not supposed to be a research video. So, yeah, I guess that's about it. We're already at 17 minutes, so this is way too long anyway. Alright, everybody, thanks for stopping by.
People need to be awake, and they need to be awake, and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff. People need to be awake. People need to be awake, and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against this stuff.
And it's so politically engaged.
And it's so politically engaged.